In Armenia, activists gathered on Saturday, August the 23rd, for a protest near the Russian military base in Gyumri, during which they demanded the withdrawal of Russian troops from the republic, citing videos from the scene published online. The rally participants shouted "fascists" at the military of the aggressor country and held posters with the slogan "Armenia without foreign garrisons." In addition, people came to the rally with anti-Putin posters as well as Ukrainian flags, thereby expressing support for Ukraine in its fight against Russian invasion. In particular, during the rally, those gathered repeatedly chanted, "Glory to Ukraine." Armenian media write that the protest was organized by the For the Public Party. This is a centrist political force created in 2020. The party believes that Yerevan should strive for closer relations with the EU and the US in its foreign policy. It should be noted that after the military actions in Karabakh, as a result of which Azerbaijan regained control over this region, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan repeatedly accused Russia and the CSTO of failing to fulfill their allied obligations and stated that he did not see any advantages from the presence of a Russian military base in the republic. The head of the Armenian government emphasized that the country needs to diversify its relations in the security sphere. Earlier, media reported that Armenia had frozen its participation in the CSTO and allowed a complete withdrawal from this organization. In December last year, Pashinyan stated that the point of no return had been passed in relations between Yerevan and the CSTO. Let us recall that Armenia and Azerbaijan recently concluded a peace agreement without the participation of the Russian Federation, which became a geopolitical defeat for the Kremlin. The agreement between the countries was reached with the mediation of the United States. On August the 8th, the American leader received Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan at the White House. Following this meeting, a historic trilateral peace agreement was signed. Under the agreement, Baku and Yerevan commit to permanently cease all hostilities, open trade, and respect each other's territorial integrity. Washington, meanwhile, will lift restrictions on defense cooperation between Azerbaijan and the United States. The agreement also provides for the creation of a strategic transit corridor through the South Caucasus, known as the Trump Path, for international peace and prosperity. The American side will receive exclusive rights to manage this route. The construction of the infrastructure will be carried out by an international consortium under Washington's control. The development of events is certainly a strategic defeat for Russia, which considered this region its zone of responsibility and for many years tried to play a mediating role between Azerbaijan and Armenia. However, recently the Kremlin has managed to quarrel with both Yerevan and Baku. Sharp disagreements with Armenia began after the Azerbaijani operation to restore control over Karabakh. In turn, Moscow's serious conflict with Azerbaijan began after Russian air defense shot down an Azerbaijani civilian plane last December. Baku demanded an official admission of guilt from the Russian Federation, but the Russian regime never did. The conflict between Baku and Moscow has recently escalated following a raid by Russian security forces on Azerbaijanis in Yekaterinburg in June, which left 2 Azerbaijanis dead.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his country will invest $1.50 billion in new military assistance for Ukraine to boost its army and provide urgently needed weapons. According to Associated Press, Carney arrived in Kiev earlier for meetings with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as Ukraine celebrated 34 years since its independence. During a joint news briefing, Zelensky said the two leaders were considering the presence of Canadian forces on the ground in Ukraine as part of a reassurance force. Norway also announced significant new military aid Sunday, pledging about $695 million for air defense systems. Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre said Norway and Germany are jointly funding 2 Patriot systems, including missiles, with Norway also helping procure air defense radar. Carney and Zelensky's meeting came as Russia accused Ukraine Sunday of launching drone attacks that sparked a fire at a nuclear power plant in its western Kursk region overnight. The fire at the nuclear facility was quickly extinguished with no injuries reported, according to the plant's press service on Telegram. While the attack damaged a transformer, radiation levels remained within normal ranges. Ukraine did not immediately comment on the alleged attack. Russia fired 72 drones and decoys, along with a cruise missile, into Ukraine overnight into Sunday, Ukraine's Air Force said. Of these, 48 drones were shot down or jammed.
Шановні пані та панове, їх високоповажності президент України Володимир. Заява президента України.
Ми розраховуємо на присутність канадських сил в Україні. Для нас це важливо. Ми обговорили сьогодні нашу оборонну співпрацю. Країни НАТО зараз підключаються до нової програми під назвою PEARL. Це колективний інструмент, який дозволяє збільшити допомогу Україні завдяки закупівлям зброї саме в Сполучених Штатах Америки. Вже в програмі рішення на $1,5 мільярда країни Європи зробили свої кроки. Я вдячний за готовність Канади приєднатися до програми. На сьогодні, якщо чесно, ми використовуємо нашу далекобійну зброю вітчизняного виробництва. І ми останнім часом, якщо чесно, не проговорюємо зі Сполученими Штатами Америки такі моменти. Колись це було, ви пам'ятаєте, було різні сигнали щодо наших ударів у відповідь після їх ударів по нашій енергетиці. Це було вже дуже давно. Сьогодні ми навіть про це не згадуємо. Тому для мене це новина.
Перший або перші переговорні кластери.
We're investing today $2 billion in new military assistance for Ukraine. $800 million of this will help strengthen Ukraine's arsenal for the most urgently needed defense equipment, drones, ammunition, armored vehicles. And we had a discussion today about specifying and targeting that assistance where it will have the greatest impact, and we will do so. As the President mentioned, we're proud to be the first non-European nation to participate in NATO's PEARL program, the package of the most urgently needed military assistance that will be delivered here next month.
Розмови і прохання до Дональда Трампа, чи з'явилося у нас і у вас, відповідно, більше важелів впливу?
Ми завжди підтримували дружбу між Україною і Угорщиною. А тепер існування дружби залежить від позиції Угорщини. Дякую.
What actually do you think the chances are of a ceasefire? And if there is one, I mean, you mentioned you don't exclude...
We are working through with our allies in Coalition of the Willing and with Ukraine the modalities of those security guarantees on the land, in the air, and the sea, and I would not exclude the presence of troops.